Welcome back to Cycling Unboxed. I'm here at Vires Velo in Lane End, and today we're going to be looking at some Factors. And of course, you can see the one right in front of me is the Factor Astro V.A.M. Fully kitted out this one with Dura Ace Di2 on there, so we'll weigh it in at the end as well. I'm going to be going over all the frame shapes and the unique stuff that you get with this bike. So come in closer and let's begin. Before I kick it off with the paint jobs and the frame shapes, I just want to tell you what comes with this bike as standard, because you get so much with the purchase price that I really like from Factor. So kicking it off, you do get the out front mount that just comes with the bike. And you have two options with that. You can get the normal one, which is sitting on here, or you can get the one where you can, fit your GoPros and your lights and stuff. So yeah, just some adjustability and some options and a nice easy bolt on there. Next up with the Factor Astro, you get ceramic speed bearings practically everywhere. So you've got ceramic speed in the headset, you've got ceramic speed in both the hubs and the free hub body, you've got ceramic speed in the bottom bracket as well. And that just comes as standard, so your bearings should last a nice long period of time when you buy this bike. And it also makes it feel a little bit better knowing that you've got some low friction, high quality bearings in there. Other things on the adjustability scale, so when you buy the bike, you can choose whether you have the set back seat post or zero offset. Most brands, you have to purchase that after you buy it. Then when you get to the handlebars, same again, you can choose the exact width and stem length. That's just part of the options when you buy the bike. Moreover, you can also choose which crank length that you have. That's perfect. Too many crank lengths, too long. You should be able to choose that when you buy a bike, as you can here. And then finally, you can choose the group set sizings as well. So you can choose like an 1130 or 1134 cassette. You can choose like a compact group set, or you can choose a more standard 5236 on here. So yeah, you can choose the chainring size as well. Love the fact that you can choose all of those things. And it just makes your bike fit together for you better. One more quick thing when you're buying the bars, they do have a special edition Paul Smith one here, which I love the look of this thing, and it's a little bit too short for me. What's it, 100mm long? I'd go for a 110 stem, but 40 centimeters wide, and it looks incredible. So if I could stock the bike with this, I certainly would. Okay, onto the frame shapes, and let's start with the bars. And if you watch my review video of this bike, you might notice it's a bit dirty because I was the one who rode it, but I found it quite nice to hold the bars here. They look fairly flat and squarish, but no, they're actually very nice to hold, more than I ever realized. But yeah, you can see the top, it has this kind of squared off link look with the black ink, but you're going to notice a theme on this bike, and that's the front edge of everything is very sharp, and obviously that's going to be for aerodynamics to cut through the air to begin with and then guide it over the rest of the frame shape. And then a flatter back edge here, so that kind of cam tail shape where you keep the aero but you can chop some of the carbon off. Staying up high here, I want to show you this seat post because it is amazingly thin. So you've got your normal kind of shape there, but when you look at the front, same again, the edge is so sharp. I wish I could visualize this for you. Let me try and get in closer. As I come in really close here, you can see just how thin it is. I mean, it's practically the width of my finger, which is insane. So it's by far the thinnest seat post that I've ever seen. And as I said, this front end is real sharp. And then if we go to the back end here, you can see that it's cut off, more that cantail shape again. And I think it makes it much easier to put the seat post clamp in. So you adjust it here on the back, 2 bolts this time, and then you just have a normal seat post wedge that pushes it forwards. And a nice little sleek cover to go there as well. As we come further down to the head tube, as I said, it seems like all the bikes are going this way, but Factor were one of the first to do it because they made their changes first. And that's that sharper front nose that we have here. And it really is sharp. And Factor seems to have gone for the very narrow, very deep approach. And the narrower you go, the less area you have. And same again, if I put my hand there, you can see just how skinny it really is. I mean, it's barely 2 fingers wide on the front there, which is really cool. But then if we come to the side, of course, lots more depth into the head tube just to control that airflow with that flat cam tail coming towards the back. The top tube itself, kind of squarish, But looking very cool. And it just gets narrower and narrower and narrower as you come towards the back here. So it keeps the airflow attached to stick it back together as it comes off the back of the bike here. And you need something skinny to hold that super skinny seat post as well. I think you can see the sharpness of that front edge there. As we go to the seat tube, the theme continues with that sharper front edge and that really good bit of depth to it for aerodynamics. And you can see it just cuts off at the back as usual. As a lot of aero bikes are going nowadays, it does have this cutout here, which is a little bit D-shaped. So just for better airflow going from the frame attaching to the rear wheel. Then for the seat stays, these really cool sharp edges that run off the front here, and you've got lots of space underneath there. Should still be easy enough to clean, but you can see if I bring you in front that they just have those sharp edges on the front again. And it's the same all the way through. So if I come to this angle, this almost looks round, but I promise you it's not round. Same again, we've got a much sharper front edge to this seat stay, and then that flat camtail rear edge on the back there again. As we come down from the head tube down to the fork, you can see this really clean transition. It all fits together really well. Like my Tarmac SL7, it's very separate. It has the head tube, and then it goes into the fork and has this bulge, but this here is really, really smooth from the fork to the head tube. But the most fun thing about this is the width of it. It's very wide. You've got lots of space in there. You can comfortably run 32. No doubt you'll be able to run a 34 in there if you wanted to. Not that you ever really would on a bike like this. But as usual, with the Factor bikes here, sharp front edge. It's a bit softer on the back edge this time, but still a camtail there. And it's just very flat and long. It's really thin, the front fork here. Same again, like the width of one finger, if not less on there. When we get to the down tube, this is almost the most plain thing about this bike, which is amazing really, because it just has the usual shape where it's rounded off at the front, but flat at the back for the bottles to go. But on the topic of bottles, we do have some integrated bottle cages here. So this is obviously for the front one. It helps smooth the airflow around the bottle and then catch the airflow on the back here as well. So I believe the rules are for the UCI, if you want to make the water bottle as a fairing as you are here, that has to come stock with the bike. So if you buy the bike, you're going to get these bottles cages as part of the bicycle itself. There is only one thing to kind of report on here, is that it does actually cover the logo a little bit as the logo wraps over the top of the bar there. So yeah, it does cover it a little bit. I don't think it hides it much, but it does hide it a little bit. Also, it's semi-hard to tell which way it goes round. This is the bottom here where the bottle sits, and that's where the notch sits, but it almost looks like the top could look like the bottom of the bottle cage there. As we get to the through axles now, you can see that they are like the sleek integrated ones that most bikes are coming with nowadays. And if we come to the other sides here, you can see once again, it is sleek. I know a lot of brands are making this integrated and flat so you can't see that side, but I take my front wheel off and on quite a lot, and the through axle in here gets a bit dirty, so this makes it way easier to clean it. And it's still very sleek. It's very flat on the front there, so you can barely see it, or it doesn't show itself to the wind. And that's the same situation with the rear of the bike here. You get the exact same thing as you run on this side. On the chainstay here, instead of the usual plastic that we get covering most of this for the chain slap hitting this, we actually get a rubber piece on this one. So I suspect there'll be a little bit more protection when you do run over those bumpy roads like we have here in the UK. My only concern is that when you take the wheel off and on, the chain seems to sit behind this rubber bit and scratch up the inside here. But that's something I'm sure you could fix if it was your bike. So at Lane End Veros Velo here, when they sell you the bike, they will put the chain catcher on for you, just so that they can guarantee that you don't scratch up your paint job underneath there. So they'll stock that as you buy the bike from this location. Let's move on to the wheels, and we've got the Black Ink 48/58 here, so mullet setup, shallow on the front, deeper on the back. That is my personal preference as well, I like that. With these Black Ink logos, so you've got the very clear silvery one here, which I quite like the look with this bike. but they do have the option for it to be in black where you can barely see it here. So that's up to you. You can stock that when you buy the bike. You can choose the darker one or the more visual one, which sits over there. External spoke nipples, because internal spoke nipples are a pain in the arse for maintenance. And they are carbon bladed spokes as well, so they feel quite thick. But one thing about carbon spokes is that you need a gap between where they meet here, and you can see there's a huge gap on every single spoke, so there's going to be no rubbing there, so these should survive themselves just fine. I'm going to try and bring you even closer to the wheel because you can see the carbon fibre weave through it, which I really like the look of. I love it when you can see the carbon fibre coming through. These wheels are designed for a 28mm tyre, so we're running both 28 front and rear, and you can see that they have a very smooth transition from tyre to wheel. I'm sure you could probably run 30 on the back if you like, but I wouldn't go any wider than 28 on the front just for these tyres, just because they fit so perfectly on there. Let's just have a real quick look at some of the different paint jobs that you can get. So this is like the team edition that I know that Israel Premier Tech runs, so really cool looking bike. I like the electric blue on this one and the logos that really stick out in your face. But you can go for the opposite, where you can just go really dark here and just go for a more black looking bike. Then you have your white silver there, but you have a lot more fun options, such as this one sitting here. Forgive the flashing, that's just the LEDs. There we go. And then finally, there are other options here as well, which this is the special Chris Froome edition with all the rhinos and stuff on it, which is like an amazing volcano orange. I really like the orange on that bike. As per usual, I've made you wait until the end to weigh this thing in. This bike is a size 58. It's got a 42 wide handlebar because this is a demo bike, so they've gone a bit more versatile. You can save a little bit of weight there, but it also doesn't have pedals. So 58 without pedals, Dura-Ace. Let's get this thing in. 7.28 kilos for a bigger bike. That is doing well with some deep section wheels on there as well. I have been told that these aren't the most consistent weighing scales that we've ever had, and I've literally just weighed it in again, and we've got 7.09 kilos this time, so maybe stick it somewhere in between. Take the exact weight we've got on here with a pinch of salt. And I think if you spec this thing properly, you could shave another 100 or 200 grams off that as well. One thing for the weight as well, it does have a Sella Italia San Marco on this one. You could go a lot lighter than this saddle, so you could probably shave 100 grams just on the saddle alone if you just get something with a carbon rail. Well guys, there it is, the new Factor Astro V.A.M 2. Like I said, I think this has one of the most unique designed shapes on the bike. It's got a very skinny, narrow head tube that's almost like an hourglass, some very wide but thin forks, and the skinniest seat post I've ever seen. So some very coolly designed stuff on here. Let me know what you think. Do you like the look of this bike? And would you buy one, especially with all those adjustable options and the ceramic bearings that you get with it? I've been Jason, this has been Cycling Unboxed. I'll see you in another video.